Okay, so this is our picture of Victoria Beach. Apparently I wandered around a bit. We have our little registration marks in here. If you look here, this is essentially, what we're looking at, the tower, the little beach stuff here, and then you get some background stuff in the sky. So let's see what we got here. Now, the thing here is, do you want to key off of this kind of warm gray, or do we want to go a little bit darker? And quite honestly, I think I do want to go just a little bit darker. It just gives me a little bit more contrast, and I think that contrast is going to be very important. And don't be confused by, as in, if you're going to work off a photograph, don't be confused by the, like if you look down here, if you look at the way it is, there's the kind of the fisheye or the narrow wide, kind of like what this particular camera is doing. And don't be, I don't know how to say it, don't fall into the trap of copying it from a photograph by doing the, following the fisheye stuff. That, it's not good. And then people just be like, oh, look, he painted a photograph. And you're like, oh, yeah, no kidding, I did. These are some plants and bushes that go up the wall here, and there's, wall stuff. And then, off in the distance, you've got a combination of like some structures or whatever, but we are going to put those structures in the right tone, the right contrast, the right chroma, all those. Combine, give you the palette that you want. Now, in this case, what I'm going to do is, how you have, all the rocks and everything. I'm not trying to paint in those rocks. What I'm trying to do is just give an overall, look to it, like simplify it, and then we'll come back in later and suggest in a lot of the rocks and everything. Right now, we just want basic bold shapes. You've never been to the beach and you get to the like a lot of these rocks around the right along the beach and everything. It's these are called the tide pools, and some are pretty big, some are pretty small, but when the tide goes down, that's when the tide pools show up. At high tide, there's not a lot of tide pools. But if you get like a really low tide, the tide pools start extending out pretty far. And there's all kinds of little critters that live in the rocks here. It's pretty it's kind of cool, a lot of, like a lot of barnacles on everything. Let's see, what else do you get? Barnacles, you find your starfishes, sea urchins. If you ever see a sea urchin and it looks like it has a lot of shells in it and everything, it's kind of open, you always poke it and it squirts water out at you. Don't go poking those things. They're just trying to live the best life. What else? Sometimes you might see, depends on where you are, fishies. Get little fishies in there, crabs, octopus. Saw an octopus once. All kinds of fun stuff shows up in the tide pools. You never know what you're gonna get. Oh, my light isn't getting too glary in here. I really have a bad setup, just so you know. It's a terrible setup. And it's because I just don't have the money to get some of the good stuff yet. But if you go to my Patreon that I've, as of this recording, yet to properly set up, you can help me out. And then part of the Patreon is also, some teaching in there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start adding some white in here, okay? And so the white, along with the blue, keep it thin. White will get you a thick paint. We want to keep it fairly thin. But what we want to do is we want to start reseeding our, scene by adding the blue and the white to give it a cooler effect going into the background here. So what I'm really trying to do in this color theory here is I really want to keep stuff fairly moody, I guess you can call it. Not so much as like a tonalist painting, but I really want to keep it fairly moody. Only because, you know, like a lot of times down there at the beach, it is exactly that. It's moody. Um, you know, you get, you know, a lot of the grays, especially in the morning. Uh, well, and especially during the summer. Funny enough, it's during the summer that you'll get the May gray and the June gloom, and but during the winter months, it's actually better, to be honest with you. I don't even know what that structure is back there. I'm just going to kind of take it out. I'm just going to blend this up into whatever this is here. It's like a lifeguard tower of some sort. I don't know. The rocks are always, you're going to love this, but they're always wet. They always have a wet look to them. Either they're wet or bone dry. So I'm putting in a little bit of this brown here. I just get this like really rich dark brown. So we just got these where some of the rocks go out and everything, but we're going to come back in with the sand and the water to really define them out. Okay, so this for the most part is, you know, the underpainting and the drawing, and we just want to make sure it looks right and it's coming out right. Also, so I use for a lot of the sand, I use yellow ochre, and that is, funny enough, I'm missing some yellow ochre. I don't know where my yellow ochre is. I may have used it all, which is weird because I don't use very much. So we're going to see what we can do here, folks. Okay, so we're going to try and mix up a yellow ochre that we can work with here. I'm going to try and use some yellow, some of the brown. Just a touch of the blue. Bring up the white. Yeah, it's a little too green, so we're going to put in some red. And a little bit of yellow again. A little bit of white just to see how it tones up a little. And it still might be just a bit blue. Just a touch of the red, touch of the yellow, some white. Thin it out just a little here. I don't know, it might be too green. I'm just going to see where we put it down. No, that actually works pretty good. That actually works pretty good. Alright, so let's so again, this is a simplified version of what we're putting in. We're going to go back in with some more detail and texture. Let's just go ahead and, you know, put in whatever color this is. Okay, so if we go forward a little, we're going to bring up just a titch of red. That's too much, and a titch of yellow, and that's too much, with a little bit of white. Okay, so now we're in basically the same puddle. We just changed it just a little, and so as we come back in here, you know, you're not going to have colors that are way out of gamut and be like, what the hell did that guy do? You know, you can keep them all pretty tight. But of course, as it comes forward to you, you want to you know, warm it up. So I'm going to put in just a little bit of this brown in here, because the water that comes up in here, a little of the blue, just a smidge of the red, bring back up the white just a little bit. There we go. It's a little thick, just a little thick, guys. Okay, keep it thin at this stage. Keep it thin. Are you keeping it thin? I'm keeping it thin. Okay, now for the, we always have sap green. And what, I don't know where my sap green is, guys. This demo isn't going great. Where's the sap green? Well, we got a little texture there. Okay. We also have this right here. Well, let's finish up that. So, you know, like I said, sap green is my go-to color for it. Now, why sap green? Well, it's because around here the waters are generally very churny. You get a lot of the silt and this and that. I don't know, just to me, the sap green just kind of helps get to that color. But instead, what we're going to do is we're going to bring up some yellow over here, and a little bit of this blue. A little bit of blue. Not too much of the white. More of the yellow, more of the blue. Keep it thin. And let's see what we got. Yeah, it's workable. It's workable, guys. Maybe a little more blue in here. More of that moody, more of the moody gray. And water's always moving. I mean, whenever you paint water, just, you know, you're not painting something that's like, oh, this is what the water looked like. No, because water's always moving. It's always churning. It's never the same scene twice. That's why you take a picture of it. Yeah, you really got to study your waves. Do a nice seascape painting with your waves so you can see where all that goes. And there, okay. And as it washes up on shore, and recedes back offshore, you get a whole new set of waves. Some of this stuff over on this side. Since this is what our focal area is what we're actually painting, we want to make this with the most amount of detail, if you will. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do here is just going to come through and suggest in these bricks, because the bottom here is made with bricks, rocks, I don't know. Like I don't know what you call those, a flying buttress there on the bottom. That's my dog. She's protecting me from, you know, dangerous things like other people walking their dogs. Definitely the Amazon delivery guy, the FedEx delivery guy, the DHL delivery guy, the post office delivery guy. Anybody who wants to deliver anything, she protects us. Alright, so now let's work on some of these textures as we bring it forward here a little. Just need to work on some of these textures in the sand. And I want to make sure I lead your eye into the right place and not let you get wandering and this and that, whatever. Okay, so let's go. So now let's this I don't know. I don't like it, guys. I'm not jazzed here. It's like too glary. My brush strokes don't work right here. Something's just not working right. I also think it's because this back. Remember, the brushes create a certain effect. You know, the way you make your mark, the way you paint is, you know, something you develop and is yours and yours alone. However, different brushes, different surfaces give different techniques as well. So, you know, like you can see here, it was, I don't know, and then because it's gray and it's black and white. But the point is, you know, I want to make the sky pretty moody too, okay? So we're going to go ahead and mix up some of this white along with this, that color was, thin it out just enough. But it has to be fairly, oh, that's crazy. Good. Okay, so here we go. I actually like this. You want, it has to be very, totally it's like your lightest tone, okay? It's like your lightest tone. Alright, so I'm going to do this here and then work it up a little more, just a little more of the blue in it though, okay? This is the kind of sky where it's like the time of day was just a little, you know, what time is it? You know, is it late afternoon? Is the sun nice and high in the sky? Is it, you know, where is the sun? You get days like that where you don't really know where the sun is, because it's just, I'm going to bring this, I'm going to warm that up just a tad down here with just a tad of yellow and plenty of white. Yeah, we need that. Anyway, so, you know, you're not really sure what time of day it is because, you know, the sun's so obscured by the fog. You know, I just kind of want to curl up somewhere. Anyway. Alright, like that. Now we got to fix that a little dribble on. Alright, there you go. Now the only person who knows you, me, and about 3 other people who see this video. Maybe a little more of this lighter stuff in the background here. This might be asking too much. That might be just asking a bit much. Alright, let's take a step back. Take our eyes off it for a minute. See what happens. Let's go pet the dog. Ask the dog for her opinion, okay? Let's do that. So far, so good. I think it's looking okay. We'll see.